Hello Isopod fans, this is Wally with Supreme Gecko, Supreme Isopods. We're bringing it back. After 2 years, it's coming back. Find out in just a second, and also find out why in the world I'm wearing a Chicago Blackhawks hockey hat and a Milwaukee Brewers baseball jersey. What in the world? Join me in just a second. I bet a lot of you remember what we did 2 years ago. We offered a service called Isopod Setup Review, and this was for anybody that had questions on their Isopod setup to send me a short video. I would go through the video and I would point out problems or issues or just areas for improvement. If they weren't having as many babies as they wanted to have, if they had issues with the enclosure, if they were losing parents, that was my service to them to help them do a better job with their enclosures. We had such a great response. I did 20 videos on Isopod setups, and every single one was so valuable. But at that time I had to stop simply because I needed to do other videos for isopods. And for the last 2 years I've been doing that, showing different species, how to keep them, how to set them up, different tips and techniques. But through popular demand, it's time to bring that series back. Now, I've done a number of Isopod setup reviews in my Buy Me a Coffee. You can see that down in the very first comment, and that's worked out really well. I've helped a bunch of people that way. Now I'm going to open it up again in 2022 on this channel, free service, by bringing back the Isopod setup reviews. Now, we still do the consultation through Buy Me a Coffee. If you have any questions on geckos, isopods, about business in general, shoot me an email, put a comment down below, and I'll help you with the Buy Me a Coffee. One of the really cool things about what we did a couple of years ago was that we had a lot of people that submitted their Isopod setup reviews, and that was a great help to them. But it was the people that were watching these reviews that were getting so much information from just the basics about how to set up zebras or clowns or any other isopod. I tell you what, I was so glad that I was able to help people setting up their isopods. But again, unfortunately, time didn't permit to keep that going. But now we're going to do a handful of additional Isopod setup reviews, and you can submit your video to me and I'll take a look at your Isopod setup and tell you how you can improve it, or maybe there is no way to improve it. So this is going to be fun, and again, I hope it's going to be helpful for everybody keeping isopods. So how do you submit your video to me, and what are the requirements? And let me make this perfectly clear to everybody watching this. This is non-judgmental. These videos are going to be positive, reinforcing what we're doing right with these Isopod setups and giving suggestions for improvements or making things a little bit different. That was one of the comments that we had a couple of years ago, that all of these videos were very positive. Oh, before we even go on, why am I wearing a Chicago Blackhawks hockey hat and a baseball uniform jersey, the Milwaukee Brewers? Well, for one, the hockey season is going into the playoffs, and unfortunately the Blackhawks are out. So the hockey season is over for the Blackhawks, so I should just take this hat off. Well, I'm not going to do that, but the baseball season just began, and I'm a huge baseball fan. So I live in Milwaukee, love the Brewers, love the Cubs first, but Brewers are the team that I'm watching right now. Okay, let's get on with it. How do you submit a video? It's super easy. Send me a message on Facebook, send me a message on my email address. However you can get a hold of me, leave a comment below, and I'll put you in touch with how you can submit a video to me. Again, this is going to be very informal, but try to keep it at about 1 minute so that we can go through all the information, but please add the details as I'm going to specify in just a second. And my thought was, why don't I just do an Isopod setup review where I'm submitting it? You can take a look at it. You can leave a comment below if I'm doing everything right or if you have suggestions. But this will give everybody a chance to see what the expectations are for their submission to the Isopod setup review that I'm going to do for their setups. Let's get to it. Let's take a look at this Isopod setup. Okay, this is going to be fun. I'm going to go ahead and use both cameras and try to get a video to you that's under 1 minute, and I'm sure that I'll fail and it'll be just a little bit over, but we're going to try to get all the different pieces that should be in these videos in 1 minute. All right, start up your timers. Let's go. Okay, this is for the Isopod Setup review. The isopods are Cuberis Panda Kings. I've had them for about 2 years. There are no issues, but I'd just like a recommendation on how they're doing, if they could be kept better. I do have babies. I'm gonna go ahead and open the tub right now. This is a 15-quart enclosure. You can see the ventilation on the sides. That's the dry side. I have another ventilation hole here. You saw the top a little bit earlier. The substrate is basically worm castings mixed with dried leaves crumpled up and a couple of other components. I have the sphagnum moss on the wet side and I have leaves on the dry side. The substrate is about 2 inches deep. Let me go ahead and show the isopods. So they're doing pretty well, and I feed once a week, and I'm feeding veggies and the Supreme Isopod chow and flake food and a couple of other foods like dried fish and prawn. When I water, I put it on the damper side, and you can see that the substrate is about halfway damp. I am putting calcium on the sides, and I am using a calcium as well that I purchased from Amazon. I hope you can help me with this Isopod setup, as I'd really like to have more and more of these beautiful, beautiful Panda Kings. Thanks for your time, and I'm looking forward to seeing the Isopod setup review. Now remember, I'm only taking submissions for a very, very short period of time. I'm only going to do a handful of Isopod setup reviews, so get yours in as soon as you possibly can. This is going to be fun, and I really hope that I can help everybody with their setups. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next video or the next Isopod setup review.